historic reversal, Germany enters the path of acquiring nuclear weapons due to Macron's emptying national strategy. Berlin drafts the first national security strategy. Among its other consequences, the Russian invasion of Ukraine breathed life into the Atlantic Alliance, Europe on the one side of the ocean, the US on the other. As never before in the post-Cold War era, some experts say the US-led alliance may have reached its peak, but at the same time, Europe's two preeminent war powers, France and Germany, seem very focused on the importance of strategic autonomy and reducing Europe's dependence on the United States for its security by building up their military strength. Having said that, the important trend is the growing recognition of the need to develop and strengthen European nuclear arms. The Republican takeover of the U.S. House of Representatives and former President Donald Trump's announcement of the presidency in 2024 further strengthened this autonomy trend in both Germany and France. They are mindful of the Trump presidency's repeated admonition to European countries that they are not sharing enough for their security at the expense of American taxpayers. According to Jeremy Shapiro, Director of Research at the European Council of Foreign Relations, Republicans will again ask why Americans should pay more than their Ukrainian neighbors. In total, while the U.S. has already spent billions of dollars and pledged more than $40 billion in military aid to Ukraine, Europe has pledged only half of that. French President Macron's stance on the future of the nation. In this context, one can see the timing of French President Emmanuel Macron's unveiling on November 9 of France's National Strategic Review to define what the country's defense will look like in 2030. Macron said France wants to be an independent, respected, flexible power at the heart of European strategic autonomy with strong ties to the Atlantic Alliance. He added that France wanted to focus on boosting the European Union's defense capability development, reducing the 27-nation bloc's reliance on the US and NATO for security. Of course, Macron has consistently supported the above narrative that Europe is building its power. After interviewing him, The Economist magazine wrote, Europe has become too dependent on others, from its ability to innovate to military weight and even food. Europe, according to Mr. Macron's terminology, needs strategic autonomy. This step towards greater dominance includes everything from more defense spending to Europe with its tech giants and much more besides. Significantly, in his National Strategic Review, the French president insisted that a credible, modern nuclear deterrent is the key. After Brexit, France became the only EU country with nuclear weapons. Our nuclear forces contribute through their existence to the security of France and Europe, he said. Macron, as reported by the Eurasian Times, also made it clear that a possible nuclear ballistic attack by Russia in the region would not bring any nuclear response from Paris. He said France's doctrine is based on what we call the fundamental interests of the nation. They would not gamble at it in such a situation, he said. In other words, Macron is saying that French nuclear weapons are only for France, and that in turn appears to have reignited a debate in Germany about developing its own nuclear deterrent. This is a topic that few in Germany wanted to discuss until recently, given its history and aversion to all things nuclear, even more so after the 2021 general election that ended a 16-year run of conservative governments under Angela Merkel. The country currently has a government of a coalition of three parties from the left and the right, the Social Democratic Party SPD, the Free Democratic Party FDP, and the Greens. Both the SPD and the left Greens, especially the latter, are big devotees of nuclear disarmament and the closure of even civilian nuclear power plants. When it was last in government in 1988, the Green Party had strongly advocated the replacement of NATO with a European peace order. Even during the election campaigns last year, the Greens had proposed a Germany without nuclear weapons. But the Russian invasion of Ukraine changed all that. The German government, led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz, SPD, has committed not only to spend at least 2% of the country's gross domestic product, GDP, on defense, but also supported the distribution of NATO nuclear weapons on German soil. Germany's turn to nuclear weapons. The German government is reportedly now drawing up a first national security strategy, which is expected to be released early next year, and it will talk about maintaining a credible nuclear deterrent. The public debate currently in Germany also shows that as the international security environment deteriorates, military options and new nuclear armaments become more attractive among political leaders. Even otherwise, in a June 2022 poll, most respondents supported hosting US nuclear weapons in Germany. This is in stark contrast to previous years, when many Germans in opinion polls favored removing these weapons from the country. Of course, under the previous German government of Angela Merkel, of the Conservative Christian Democratic Union, CDU, there were calls for Euro deterrence. The Christian Democrats' top defense expert in the Bundestag, Roderick Kieswetter, made this case, and Kieswetter, MP and foreign policy representative of the then ruling party of Germany, had developed this line of thinking. This Euro deterrent by its proponents did not necessarily mean that Germany would build nuclear weapons in violation of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, the NPT. It meant supporting and funding those European countries that already had nuclear weapons, that is, France and the UK. Kieswetter said, "My idea is to leverage the existing weapons in Great Britain and France, while acknowledging that Britain's decision to leave the European Union could rule out its participation." Kieswetter's thesis had 4 pillars: a French premise to commit its weapons to a common European defense, German funding to demonstrate the collective nature of the program, a joint command, and a plan to place France warheads in other European countries. This position of Euro deterrence, provided by the French strategic forces, is today reaffirmed by Friedrich Merz, leader of the CDU. His party colleague and head of the Conservative European People's Party in the European Parliament, Manfred Weber, has even suggested that German finance the French force de frappe. However, the problem with the German idea of a Euro deterrent has met with a major setback, and this is the irony. With the latest French National Strategic Review and President Macron's announcement that the French deterrent force is there to protect and defend French territory and does not extend to its European partners. And that in turn may lead to a resurgence of public demand that the country must have its nuclear weapons. Germany had a debate in the late 1960s about whether it should have a nuclear force, something that then Defense Minister Franz Josef Strauss had strongly advocated. As Stephen F. Szabo, assistant professor at the BMW Center for German and European Studies at Georgetown University, writes, "A nuclear North Korea, an Iran with a strange core, and the prospect of Japan and South Korea becoming nuclear powers pose the question, why should Germany be left behind given its power and central position in economic security?" This is from Pentapostagma. I've translated this for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.